Oh, yeah, back for the first time ever, DTV podcast. We don't even have a name for this thing yet, but I am Randall W. Scott III, and we're here with Chayton Harris, Jack Blascyk, and my main man over here, Mr. Ames.
Yo, yo, yo.
Hey, we're back. All right, check it out. What are we talking about today, Chayton? Break the topic down for us today.
So last week, NFL draft occurred over the weekend, and got to break it down because there's a lot of controversial picks this year, and currently Lions, I'm not too happy with the draft, but other people are. So we can go through teams, go through some draft picks, just see what shocked us.
Okay, fair enough. Jack, did you watch 1 minute of the draft?
Not at all.
Okay.
That doesn't surprise me a bit.
That's right. He's here to set us straight in case we get something grammatically wrong. I actually like the shot. I like how the shot's looking too. This is going to be all right. Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Let's start with the Lions, and obviously this is where all the controversy is. Mr. Ames, you are a fantasy football guru. You've traveled with the Lions team throughout the years. You know what's going on. What did you see in that draft?
It was surprising. Lions are up and coming. A lot of people thought that they were going to focus on defense and really build up their defense. But they did some shocking things in the draft. And actually, I have to disagree with my cohort over there. I love what they did in the draft this year. And I think it's going to make their team beat the Chiefs this year.
I think they're a long way away from that. Let's slow down a little bit, okay?
Even I'll say that's pushing it. I don't know. First pick in the draft, we trade back from the 8 spot. We go to 12, I believe, 12, 13.
They went from 6 to 12.
6 to 12.
I thought you studied this a lot.
I studied most of it. Most of it.
All right.
So Jahmyr Gibbs, first pick off the board, doesn't do it for me. He should not be a first round running back.
Is that because you believe all the mock draft experts?
No, not at all. I disagreed with all of our mock drafts because I didn't think they were right either. But I don't think he's that good of a back compared to Swift. I think Swift is a by far better back. 100 out of anything. I would rather have Swift in the backfield than Gibbs.
You haven't really looked at Swift's last 2 years with the team?
Injury ridden.
Yeah.
Look at the last year.
Yeah. So how can he be better than anybody?
If he comes back and he gets healthy, he could be by far one of the best running backs in the league. But he just has to stay healthy.
He has done a phenomenal job keeping the therapists and so forth employed by the Lions. But other than that, he hasn't helped the team one bit.
You don't think his him and Williams last year was one of the best running back duos in the league?
No, that's pretty simple. No.
Really? Who would you rather have up there?
What's that?
Who would you have up there?
There's a million running back. I'd rather have Isaiah Pacheco from the 7th round pick from the Chiefs, because when you're a good organization like the Chiefs, you find a running back that's a star in the 7th round. You don't trade down and use a lot of first round draft capital on a running back who may or may not give you 3 or 4 good years in the league these days, right? Running backs, they come and they go. They just don't carry the load no more. It's not the days of Walter Payton handing him the ball 47 times a game and watch him win the game for you. Those days are gone. You got to have 3 productive backs. I'm not sure when you got a defense as porous as the Lions that you waste a draft. Not waste. He's going to be a good player, but you spend your draft on an area that you've already picked up in free agents. They picked up a couple in free agents already, right? So get that defense stronger. Get a pass rusher, get a safety, get a cornerback, get a linebacker, get some big guys up front.
That's where I disagree with you. If you want to talk about targeted during free agency, DBs, safeties, that was all us. C.J. Gardner got him absolute lockdown. He is going to be one of the best corner safety in the league, the best secondary. I think genuinely this year, we got Cam Sutton from the Steelers too.
Ooh, that's deep.
No, I 100% believe it.
We like your optimism, but
I'm 100% going to be optimistic for my team.
You've obviously drank a big glass of that Kool-Aid for the Lions. The best secondary? Are you serious?
No, I said we could be one of the best secondaries. With Cam Sutton, C.J. Gardner, we got rid of Okudah now. We didn't get a lot for Okudah.
I do have to address your point about Mr. Swift. Mr. Swift, there's the expression in sports that the most important ability is availability, and that man has not been available whatsoever to the Lions. So it was good to see him go. The Eagles are brilliant with their front office, and it does worry me a bit that They're so intelligent with their moves that they make, but it was time for him to move on for a number of reasons. One, it's his last year of his contract. Two, he'd already said once the pick was made, he didn't want to play for the team anymore. So all he was going to be is a cancer to the locker room. And three, they weren't going to pay him again, so we might as well move on and get something for the pick.
I see that, but I think as soon as the Lions drafted Gibbs, I think they already knew Swift wasn't going to be on the team. I don't think it was Swift didn't want to play. I think they already knew they were trading him as soon as they made that pick. But I do got to agree with Randy on the defensive thing. I don't think you ever take a running back that high in the draft.
I agree. I was after the first round, I was very disappointed and talked to some of my friends about it. And the one thing that I will say is that the best organizations in the history of sports are always a step ahead. So we may look back on this draft and look at how brilliant the draft was because Holmes and the whole Lions organization was one step ahead of the league by getting a very dynamic offensive weapon. He's not just a running back. We're not just drafting a running back. We drafted a playmaker, somebody he's already been told he's going to play in the slot. He's going to play wide receiver. He's somebody that's going to be dynamic to this offense. And especially with the suspension of Jamison Williams, they needed something to be able to have another dynamic option in that offense.
Got to agree with you on the offensive side, but then when you get to the pick a little bit later in the draft, in the first round, Jack Campbell going first round, linebacker from Iowa, I cannot see that. I love him. I watched a few of the games just because, MSU, I love Big Ten college football.
Does MSU still have a football team?
Okay, I don't want to hear it.
I heard
saying,
Sparty went into the transfer portal yesterday.
Look at the score from last year, and then we'll talk. But
score of what? Their record? It wasn't very good.
I'm saying.
That's why we got Jack right there. Jack on the ones and twos.
I don't know. This 2 years ago, not this last year. 2 years ago,
well,
I think that was a pretty good one.
All right.
Yeah, you're losing your point here.
Yeah, hey, you brought me off track.
No,
but
I think you opened the door. I walked through it.
Okay.
I think Campbell went a little bit. I think Dan Campbell went a little bit head over heels for his, maybe his son or something. But I don't think Jack Campbell should be a first-round pick. Do I think he's going to be a good player for us? 100%. Could I see him as a day one starter? Honestly, that one I don't even know.
I think out of the draft they got 4 day one starters.
You think who do you think day one starters are?
Oh, their first 4 picks, absolutely.
Really?
Yes, they will all be starting right out of the gate and be instant impact guys.
I don't know about that. I don't think Campbell is better than some of the linebackers we got on our squad.
Oh, he is the only guy that's currently on their roster that can play sideline to sideline. They do not have a linebacker on their team that can go sideline to sideline. He will have to be on their opening day roster.
Have you ever seen Rodrigo?
Slow.
Yeah, Rodrigo can 100% play way more sideline to sideline. That man is one of the hardest hitting guys just as a rookie. My God, I don't even know what round he got picked. Not high.
It was like 6th.
Yeah.
But listen. The track record of draft picks being successful in Detroit is pretty low. I mean, and they always pick really high in the draft. So those are the ones you always. As many people as they picked in the 1 or 2 or 3 spot or the top 10 spots, they should have 10 Hall of Famers coming out of there in the last 20 years, right? But they have 2, right, or 1 maybe. I guess 2. Stafford will probably make it. But I'm just saying, they don't hit on these draft picks, and it's impossible to hit on every draft pick, right? So you got to imagine out of the top 4 you talked about, 1, 2 of them are going to be a flop. That's just the odds of the NFL. So those guys being starters day one, I don't think so. Now some of them will, right? You know what I mean? I don't think Gibbs is going to be starting day one. He's got too many other running backs around him that have experience. Will he contribute in the first game? Yep. He'll get a couple passes and run it for 9-10 yards. Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's a good football player, but I just think the Lions missed the mark again of what they need to do to be successful. They just missed the mark every time.
Mr. Scott, can we talk about Mr. Holmes' track record with the Lions and previous? That man has not gotten too many drafts wrong. So I think people need to understand that he may be playing his cards a little bit different, but at the end of the day, he's going to walk home with a bag of money.
Yeah, but look at his draft picks, right? how can you miss? Panay Sewell, what pick was he? 4 or 5? You got to get a guy that can start on that, right? The next one, he didn't pick Akuta, did he? That wasn't him, was it?
Oh, that was before him.
All right, good, because that was a travesty, right?
Correct. He got rid of him, I'll remind you.
Right. Okay, there you go. Good move. And I'm not hating on him, but I'm just saying it's easy to pick at those high spots.
Okay, if you want to talk about high spots, Amon-Ra was not a high spot. And that guy is going to burst out this year and be possibly top 10 wide receiver.
I agree with that.
And he already is up there.
And
that was Holmes.
You brought up Rodrigo a few minutes ago. He found a guy there. The man knows the draft. The man knows talent.
In the worst linebacker room in the NFL, he found a guy in the 6th round that wanted to play. Okay, and that's good, and I respect him for that. Right, that kid came out. He put his heart into it. He won the spot. But you're talking about the worst linebacker room in the NFL, and you get a 6th round.
You're arguing that Rodrigo should start over the 1st-round pick that they just made. So don't tell me that.
No, I'm talking more on the offensive
side. Don't tell me he's just a guy.
Look,
you're arguing that he is talented enough to start over who I feel is the best linebacker on the roster.
Let me clarify a little bit there, because what I was trying to say there is, especially that I was focusing on the offensive side. On the defensive side, they're literally so bad, you can plug in 8 of the 11 spots can be filled instantly with somebody better. Like in the 7th round, right? So Rodrigo is one of those guys you could replace instantly. And I believe Campbell will start instantly. I have no doubt about that, right? He'll be the one that does start. I believe that right off the bat, because that defense is so bad. That's why the running back pick doesn't make sense at 12. It just doesn't make sense.
Get a pass rush for all of you, including Jack. Yeah. He doesn't say much. But what is more important, character or talent? What's more important?
I'm going to say character on that, easy.
So, yes, could they have brought in some more talented guys? There were lots of talented players that were available at both of their picks. But did they pick guys that fit their scheme, their culture, the character that they're trying to develop in this roster?
And I love that you brought that up, because if you look at the Detroit Lions head coach right now, there is nobody in the league with more character than Campbell. And that man can bring out the absolute best in any player that touches the league. Even if Brock Purdy was on that team, he'd probably be an all-star right now, like just from Campbell. He can bring out the best in absolutely anybody.
Like you brought up Pacheco from your beloved Chiefs. Is he a more talented player, or is he hardworking? Did he fit the scheme? Did he do everything he was told? And he fit the culture of the Chiefs team? Are we looking for players like that? Or are we looking for the most talented knuckleheads that may or may not come in and help the team, or they might just collect a paycheck and become cancers in the locker room?
I understand what you're saying. Jack, what's your take on it? Talent or culture first? I'll get to that in a second. I want to hear what Jack's got to say about this.
I think both of them are just as important, and iron sharpens iron. So if you surround your talented guys with good character guys, I think it'll rub off of them, and then you'll get these masterpieces of players that will work for you and really rise the ranks.
And I think that's exactly what I was hoping you would say, because I felt the same way, right? Is it that the Chiefs have put a ton of knuckleheads on their team, but their culture is already there to bring that in, the winning culture to, hey, when you're here, we're part of us. Same thing Belichick did, same thing a lot of these guys did. But we brought in Tyreek Hill, right, when he was a pariah, basically, you know what I mean? And he became a superstar, right? We bang in a lot of people like that, right? We gave Josh Gordon some run, right? So, like, I don't know the Lions are there yet. I don't know the Lions are there, and I respect that's what they're trying to build. But at some point, you got to make the choice of, okay, what's going to help us get to that winning culture? Is it going to be all character guys, or is it going to be a few guys that might be a little sketchy, but can get you to a winning culture? You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I thought it was so important that they got the right players right now, because they're not at the point that they could take a risky pick and somebody who may not fit the important culture. There were some very talented guys on the board at all their first-round picks and even their early second-round picks. But I was glad to see that they did not pick some of those guys, because I was afraid that they would come in and ruin some of what they've worked so hard to get to.
Let's take a peek at the second round now. You mentioned there's a lot of talented guys. I don't know if I agree with – I don't know if he was our first or our second round pick, Hooker. I don't agree that we should have drafted a quarterback this year. I mean, Goff's in his last year of his contract, I believe, correct?
He is.
Going into it. If he plays, I understand we want some reassurance, some backup, but look ahead to next year. There are some quarterbacks that will be coming out that will be just as good as Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud. I 100% believe that as soon as they develop over this year. I do not believe we should waste a second-round pick on Tennessee's, quarterback. Obviously did great for them this year. They upset big teams with him at the realm, but I don't think he's as good as everybody is saying. He has injury problems. He's not even healthy. He won't be able to participate until week 1 of the preseason. I don't think it's the right call to draft a backup quarterback when Jared Goff arguably had the best season of his career last year in Detroit.
Do you see the organization going forward or backward? Do you see their roster or their record being better this year or worse than it was this year?
I could see it being better, but I think if we use the Hooker pick on somebody else, I think it would go even further. Like if we got another big D guy, because we didn't take a D tackle till later in the draft. If we could have taken, I can't remember if the Pitt guy was on the board at that point. I don't think he was. But I know there's a couple other big D tackles or D ends that we probably could have used over him. Like that, the Northwestern guy. He went later than that pick. I think that Northwestern D end 100% should have been up there, and I think he could have been instant plug and play, absolutely dominating force on that line.
The reason I asked is you brought up guys like C.J. Stroud. Those are high-level picks. So the Lions are not going to have a pick like that, theoretically, this upcoming draft. So how are they going to be able to get a guy with talent that they see in Hooker to be able to be their quarterback of the future?
If I got to answer that, I don't think there's going to be a lot of QB-needed teams next year. Because if you saw so many teams, either have their quarterback superstar, their generational quarterback for the rest of, their team's near history. And I think the teams that didn't got them in this draft. I feel that there's very few teams that still need a quarterback. Obviously,
Mr.
you got
Scott, could
Saints.
you educate him on what the Chiefs did to get to the point they're at right now?
Oh, absolutely. So we traded up in the draft when we had a really good quarterback, and we put Mahomes on the bench for a year, and the rest is history. He hasn't been to anything but an AFC championship since, right? 3 Super Bowls, 5 AFC championships in a row, right? So, but that's next level stuff, right? And I think what we're trying to see here is that not everybody is going to have the top few quarterbacks in the league. Only a few teams are going to have that. There's never been a time in the league where there's been 27 good quarterbacks, right? There's usually a few that are excellent. And then there's a bunch of other guys, right? Lions have one of those other guys, but he can work. Goff can work if you put a good team around him. He's already done it once, right? Okay, but you got to get that team around him to do it. Stop looking for some miracle guy out of the bunch to save you, because you are not good enough to get there yet, right? You gotta win a division. You got to win a playoff. You got to get somewhere first before you can get that. And then these quarterbacks that become free agents eventually, if Goff does run his course here, then they'll want to come to you, right? Now you can get in that playing field for these other quarterbacks that become free agents, so you don't have to worry about scoring a touchdown in the draft because it's so hard to do. Like all these quarterbacks that were drafted, there was the record number of quarterbacks drafted, I think, right, in the last couple of years. Only 1 or 2 of those guys are going to be good. The chances of one of them being great is even slimmer.
I liked where they got him, personally. I think late when they got him, but that was the right place to take him. They have nothing behind Jared Goff right now, absolutely nothing. So if he has career-ending injury, they lose him to free agency, they have nothing to go on right now except maybe bringing in a free agent. And as Mr. Scott said, they don't have a leg to stand on, I don't think, right now to get a free agent to be able to bring somebody in.
We're going 20 minutes? Is that where we're going? Oh, my producer over here is telling me we got to wrap this thing up. Okay. All right, quickly. Final thoughts here on the draft. We'll just do a quick thumbs up, thumbs down. Where do you stand on it?
For overall draft, Lions draft, like which one?
Yep, just Lions. Just Lions draft, thumbs up, thumbs down. That's where we spent our time today. Got sideways. What kind of weak call is a sideways?
I'm gonna say 6.5 out of 10. That's what I'll give it.
Time will tell, but I give it a big thumbs up. I believe in where the direction they're heading, and I think we're going to look back on this and look at the genius of this organization of what they did with their draft.
Jack, where you at?
This is the best draft I've ever talked about. I can say that. Full confidence.
Is it your only, Jack? I mean,
maybe it is.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask.
All right, I'm going thumbs down on this draft, and I'm going to tell you why. Real quick, they just haven't won nothing yet. And I think we're all drinking a lot of Kool-Aid. We started doing this. If you remember the end of last season, they won 4 or 5 in a row. People got excited. Oh, they're going to be good. They're going to be good. And then they started out 0-6.
Can I point out that your team historically has always been good, so I'm just gonna.
Oh no, they haven't.
For a good amount of time, they have been good.
Somebody has to check the history, but that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
Very, very simply. All right, pretty good.
All right, you guys did a great job today. Thank you, Mr. Ames. Thank you, Chayton. Jack's on the 1 and 2s, and we will catch you next time. And we don't even have a name for this podcast. We're out.